class. My name is Rachel Washinsky, and I'm going to be doing a presentation on the opiate epidemic that is growing in our country. There is an obvious ongoing opioid epidemic that has taken our country by hostage and is an issue in public health that really hits home for me. I myself have struggled in the past with prescription opioids. I was injured in a car accident 5 years ago and was prescribed opioids to help deal with my injuries. I had no idea that these injuries were going to be the least of my problems. After many years of rehab and treatment, I can finally say that I live a happy and joyous life and it's not held hostage by the addiction of opiates. I am one of the fortunate people who found a solution to this horrific problem when many people are not as lucky as I am. Throughout my journey of sobriety, I've met hundreds of people who suffered from the same addiction to opiates as me and lost many friends along the way. Opiates affect everyone. The addiction does not discriminate. I am not really the typical person you would point out and categorize as a junkie because I grew up in an affluent home with a private education and a loving family, but opiates still managed to bring me to my knees and to places I thought that I would never end up before. This opiate crisis does not discriminate on age, race, or socioeconomic class, which is why I believe it has such a huge impact on public health. A little history about opiates. They came around in the late 1990s. Pharmaceutical companies reassured that the medical community and the patients would not become addicted to the opiate pain relievers, and healthcare providers began to prescribe them at an alarming rate. The increase of prescription of opioid medications led to a widespread misuse of both prescription and non-prescription opioids before it became very clear that these medications do in fact have very addictive side effects. These drug companies knowingly put a product onto the market for doctors to prescribe that had major addictive side effects. Once the people who were prescribed these opiate pain relievers and they could not receive any more from their doctor, it led them to the alternative illicit drugs to help fix their addiction that these drug companies created. One of the illicit forms of an opiate is a drug called fentanyl, which is now making national headlines because this drug is very, very dangerous. Although the pharmaceutical fentanyl is a synthetic opioid pain reliever mainly approved for treating severe pain, typically for advanced cancer pain. However, in the most recent cases of overdose and death in the United States, they're linked to fentanyl. Fentanyl is now being sold through an illegal drug market coming from Mexico and China that is often mixed in with other forms of opiates such as heroin. According to the CDC, there were at least 4,500 fentanyl confiscations in 2014. So this just shows the drastic rise in opioid-related deaths, maybe from the availability of the illegally made non-pharmaceutical fentanyl that is being smuggled into our country. There are many ways to prevent the spread of opiate addiction, and one way is to improve opioid prescribing. By improving the ways opioids are prescribed through clinical practice, it creates guidelines that can ensure patients have access to safer, more effective pain treatment while reducing the number of people who potentially misuse or overdose from these drugs. Doctors can reduce exposure to prescription opioids and see where the risk of opioids outweigh the benefits and only prescribe those who need it for extreme purposes. The CDC published their own guidelines for prescribing opioids for chronic pain to provide recommendations to doctors for prescribing opioid pain medications for patients at least over 18 years and older. Another preventative measure is through PDMP, A PDMP is a prescription drug monitoring program that is an electronic database that tracks controlled substance prescriptions. PDMP can help identify patients who may be misusing prescription opioids and other prescription drugs and who may be at risk for overdose. Even with all the preventative measures in the world, drug addiction will always be prominent, and there needs to be ways to treat addiction and help people get off their drugs. One common way is to treat opiate addiction through medical-assisted therapy. Medical-assisted therapy, like any sort of treatment, can have its pros and cons. There are a couple drugs on the market that can help treat the symptoms and cravings of opiates. One popular drug is methadone, and it's used in a clinic-based form which blocks the form of opiates but not other narcotics while preventing the withdrawal while taking it. It's used as a daily liquid dispensed in only special regulated clinics. The tricky part of methadone is that it's needed daily in order to receive the full benefits, and without it being used daily, it will create horrible withdrawal symptoms, and if one is to run out of their methadone, which I believe can lead an addict to just giving up their treatment and end up just searching for their drug of choice instead. Another drug used in medication treatment is naltrexone. Naltrexone is an office-based, non-addictive opioid agonist that blocks the effects of other narcotics, which is taken as a daily pill or monthly injection. Naltrexone is a better alternative than methadone because it's very helpful and is non-habit forming, and it still helps eliminate the cravings for opiates while also eliminating the euphoric effect of opiates if one were to use an opiate on top of naltrexone. From my personal experience, the only treatment that really aided my recovery from opiates was a 12-step rehabilitation program that gave me the counseling and therapy that I desperately needed. Without Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, there's no doubt in my mind that I would still be out in the streets looking for my next fix. If more money was put into helping those find the solution to their problems through therapy or a 12-step program, rather than shoving another pill down their throat, there would be a lot more people recovering from this epidemic. I find it very odd that people and healthcare providers want to fix a drug problem with another drug. I believe that the medical field needs to stop thinking that a pill will solve all the problems and start thinking of ways that can help with the pain management and the education on more of a holistic level. This class has really raised so much awareness in my life to all the ways public health can help combat controversy and disease in our country. The epidemic of opiates is such a huge issue in the public health, and I'm very glad that I can be an advocate to the many others out there still suffering from this horrible epidemic and disease. The knowledge from this class and my everyday experiences, I believe, will only help me benefit others as a healthcare provider and worker in the field of public health. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this PowerPoint and got something out of it and maybe help become advocates for this horrible epidemic. Thank you so much.